Hello and welcome to another purveyor of Lightroom quick tip. Today we're going to be covering the new release from Adobe for Lightroom Classic. This one here is now version 13. So check your version, make sure you go up to it about, and make sure you are on version 3.0. If you're not, you need to go to your cloud, Adobe Cloud subscription and update your applications. Okay, so once you have the new app and then we're ready to go in, I'm going to be honest and upfront right off the bat, it's an underwhelming update for a major point release. Usually when they go up a full version number, it's usually, got some major feature updates. I'm not seeing that here, okay, to be honest. But we'll cover the semi-major ones and skim over the other ones that are really insignificant. So let's go ahead and jump in. The first one is called Interactive Lens Blur. Okay. And so I'll pick a photo appropriate for that, and then I'll go into the develop module. And so now I have this photo here, and it's a great one to illustrate it. Now, if you look at your panel on the right side, you'll notice a new panel called Early Access Lens Blur. Okay. And I'm going to tell you right off the bat, early access is another way of saying a beta, okay? Because it's very limited in its success rate, okay? It has to have images that are very defined subject and background and, not complicated at all. It works fine for non-complicated photos, but when you get into the, other photos, it just doesn't work well. And I'm being honest here. All right. So you want to turn this on, you hit apply. All right. That's the first thing it does. Adobe analyzes the photo and it says, okay, I've mapped out and created a depth map for this image. And it says, this is the subject, this is the background, and this is the midgrounds. And it gives you a graphical breakdown of the depth map. Okay. So of the elements. So the amount slider, pretty self-explanatory. This is the amount of the blur. So if I go all the way over, you can see the blur. If I lower it down, so that's exactly what it is. It just controls the strength of it. Now I'm going to leave it on maximum so that you can see the effects as we go. So in addition to the bokeh, we have the ability to change the bokeh. In other words, like if you had a 5-blade lens or an 8-blade or a 9-blade, the blur changes shape and that. And so they've given you the ability to simulate that within this. So this one here will give you bokeh, and you'll notice that bokeh changed, and you have that little circles around it. Then you have a hexagonal, okay, which is, so you don't get exactly round bokeh. Then it'll give you change the bokeh to where it's got little holes in the middle, as you can see through there. And then basically the last one is what I call the football mode, is where the bokeh is not circular at all. It's actually making football shaped bokehs. All right. To me, honestly, you're never going to come off number one. Okay. Giving you a nice circular blur. Boost. That's basically going to change the brightness of the bokeh. Okay. So if I turn around and slide this over, you're going to see the bokeh get brighter and dimmer. And so you got to really watch it to see. But you can see, if you watch the lights over here back on the bar, you watch the lights get brighter and darker see, through the light. And that's what boost is. And then we can come down into the interesting part, which is the focal range, or the depth map, as I call it. So from here, wherever this rectangle is, it moves the focus. As you can see, as I'm moving it through the image back and forth, it's controlling where my focus is on the image, and therefore the bokeh. Okay? This is very handy and nice. If you want your focus in the background, and you move it there. If you want it mid growth, or if you want it for the back, right, like this. So if you hit the person's head, it puts it on the subject, it puts that in there. Then you could turn around and adjust your bokeh adjustment through there, which is very nice. Now, the other feature you can put into this is you can narrow your depth of field to very, very razor thin. So you see the box here. If I turn around and I grab one of these handles and I lower the box, I am thinning out. If you watch her go out of focus, I am thinning out what's in focus and what's not. I'm making it razor thin. So that's kind of like, f1.2 in your lens. You're making a very, very razor sharp, narrow depth of field. So you have that ability there. Okay? All right. So last thing is you have a visualization monitor here. So you can turn around and hit visualize depth. And you click that. And what it does is it shows you what it's mapped out and what's in focus and what's not. And the rule is tropical colors, the bright colors, that's what's going to be in focus. And anything in the darker colors, okay, or the purples are going to be out of focus. Okay, so that's the best way to visualize that. So that could come in handy. All right. But the last thing you can do is if you have a part of the photo that is not in focus or in focus that it shouldn't be, you can refine it by opening up the refine panel here. And you have focus and blur. And that enables you to add an area to be blurred or not. So let's say that these rings right here on this menu is annoying me. So I hit blur. And then with my brush, okay, it's basically like a local adjustment. I can paint the blur, okay, right on that object, and I can control the amount just like that, okay? And so it enables you to make localized adjustments if the automated depth of field didn't work for you exactly right, okay? It even has the ability to control the brush, this feather, whether it's hard or soft, the flow, and the auto mask, which we're all familiar with other controls within Lightroom. So that is basically it, okay? Like I said, this works with a photo like this with a well-defined subject, and that's going to work good. But if you go into a complicated, everyday photo, it's generally not going to get it right. All right, so let's go on to the next thing. The next thing here, okay, is they are offering HDR, okay? Now, I'm not going to go into great deals here, but under the basic panel, we notice now we have HDR available, and they took away the color, okay, that was used to be there. HDR, everybody knows that stands for high dynamic range. You're going to need a monitor to support this. And if you want to edit your photos for HDR, this is how you're going to do it. Now, in today's world, I'm going to put this down as a very limited function for today because most of us, okay, our photos go to Instagram and Facebook and yada, yada, yada. HDR, most of us don't have, monitors to even view in HDR properly. But nevertheless, if you want to turn it on, you hit HDR, and you'll notice that the histogram flew over from SDR, which is a standard range, to high dynamic range on the right, and how much of the image is in the high dynamic range, and then you can work with adjustments, and it's limiting it here. You could visualize by doing this, and you can see now these colored sections of the photo came in. It's telling you these sections are in high dynamic range, okay? So, and then you can edit your photo basically in HDR if you have an HDR monitor to do so. Okay. Like I said, I'm not going to go into this a great deal, but now you have the ability to edit in HDR so you can see what the output comes out to be. If you want to go back to standard mode, just simply hit HDR again, and you're back into your standard. Let's see, the next thing. This one is actually a small thing, but I think it's actually an important one. You'll notice down here the color mixer, and you notice you're not seeing HSL, right? What they have done is they combined everything under the color mixer, and now you have the mixer, which is your HSL, which you're familiar with, right? Hue, saturation, and luminance. And now you have point color. And point color lets you have real precision on what you're working with, right? With HDL, you don't really have that precision. You know, with point color, you can target one particular color or tone, and then you can make adjustments on it. So let me show you. I just hit the eyedropper, and then I could go on whatever the image I want to adjust. And so maybe I want to turn around and take this red on her glove. It automatically points it, maps it out. And from there, I can do a hue shift, saturation shift, luminance shift. The range of that color is going to be affected. I can change it to it's a different hue, right? See, I could change that into the reds. I could drop the luminance values by doing this bar here. I can do it by doing it through here. Okay. It gives you the ultimate power. Okay. And you can also visualize the range at which it's doing. So here it's turned everything black and white. What's not and what everything is being affected is not. See? So you're seeing there. So very nice to make precise color changes or adjustments, okay? Much more versatile in your use, okay? And some of the other things we have is presets. They now have the ability to search in presets. So if you have a whole bunch of presets and you're always trying to, you can now search for a preset. Save yourself scrolling up and down trying to find a particular preset. And let's see, they've done some basic performance improvements, mainly dealing with reading of the metadata in XMP files and so forth like that. But that is basically it. Again, the other parts of the update are just performance things, minor things that you don't really see or know that's going on. Okay, so there you go. The changes are interactive lens blur, introduction of support for high dynamic range edit and output, your color point editor now for precise color grading, and they now have the ability to search on a preset. And that is basically it on this release. So like I said, I was underwhelmed with the release. I think that the interactive lens blur has got potential, and I definitely like the introduction of the point editor. So, but that's it. So that's going to cover it now for this release. So till next week, you guys take care.